They say the biggest life lessons come when you least expect them. Some arrive quietly, through slow reflection. Others strike you like lightning, forcing you to change in ways you never thought possible. My story began with something so small, so trivial, that I almost laughed at how it all started. It wasn't a tragedy, an accident, or some dramatic turning point. No, it all began with a missed bus. That tiny accident, that one closed door, would become the single event that set everything else in motion. Back then, I had no idea that one moment of frustration would unravel into the most important lesson of my life. It was an ordinary evening. I was heading home from work, exhausted after a long day. My thoughts were clouded with deadlines, responsibilities, and the quiet, unshakable stress of adulthood. I remember walking quickly, hoping to catch the bus just in time. But as I reached the stop, the doors slid shut right in front of me. I banged on the glass, but the driver didn't care. The bus pulled away, leaving me standing there, frustrated and annoyed. I sighed, ready to curse the world for yet another inconvenience. At first, I thought, no big deal. I'll just wait for the next one. But what happened during that wait is the reason you're hearing this story. I noticed him right away. An elderly man, frail and slightly hunched, stood at the corner of the stop. He clutched a worn-out brown folder to his chest, his eyes scanning the street as if searching for something he had lost long ago. People passed him without so much as a glance. He tried speaking to a few of them, but they either shook their heads or ignored him altogether. There was something about the way he looked lost, fragile, and yet determined that made me pause. I hesitated, but then I stepped toward him and asked if he needed help. His voice was quiet, trembling, but clear enough. He explained that he was looking for an address but couldn't find it. The folder in his arms, I soon realized, wasn't just paperwork. Inside were faded documents, photographs that looked decades old, and letters yellowed with time. Every page was a piece of history, fragments of a life carefully carried through the years. I offered to help him find the place. And as we walked, step by step through the quiet evening streets, he began to share his story. He was searching for the house where his brother once lived. They hadn't seen each other in over 40 years. A single argument had torn them apart. One bitter fight, one moment of pride, and they had gone their separate ways. Neither of them reached out. Neither of them forgave. And now, with his health failing, he wanted to try, just once, to reconnect. Listening to him, I felt a strange ache in my chest. His words were not just about his life, but about mine too. Because I, too, had someone I had drifted away from. Someone I loved, but with whom I had let anger and silence grow into a wall too high to climb. I always told myself, I'll fix it later. I'll call when I'm ready. But deep down, I was afraid that later might never come. We searched for a long time. The city streets grew darker, the lights flickered on in windows as people settled in for the night. Finally, after almost an hour, we found the house. It was an old, modest building, worn down by time but still standing. The man stood there for a moment, silent, as if preparing himself. But when we knocked and asked the neighbors, the truth came crashing down. His brother had passed away a few years earlier. I will never forget the look on his face. He didn't cry. He didn't shout. He just stood in silence, as if the weight of 40 years had finally caught up with him. After what felt like forever, he turned to me, thanked me softly, and reached into his folder. He pulled out a small, faded photograph. Two young men, side by side, smiling in the golden glow of youth. He pressed it into my hand and whispered, "Don't postpone what matters. Otherwise, you might never get the chance." Those words echoed in my mind long after he walked away. That night, I sat in my room staring at the photograph. The two brothers, frozen in time, carefree and full of life, had no idea what the future held. They couldn't have known how pride and silence would rob them of decades together. And I thought of my own story. I thought of the person I hadn't spoken to in years, the arguments we let fester, the apologies left unsaid. The guilt, the anger, the stubbornness, all of it seemed so meaningless in that moment. The old man's pain became my warning. His loss became my wake-up call. I realized that I still had time, and that time was far more fragile than I had ever believed. The very next morning, I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But I pressed the number anyway. When the voice on the other end answered, I didn't have the right words. All I managed to say was, "Let's meet." And just like that, the first step toward reconciliation began. Now, when I look back, I think of that missed bus. If the doors hadn't closed in front of me that evening, none of this would have happened. I would have gone home, angry at the world, blind to the lesson life had prepared for me. I would have kept postponing, telling myself that I had all the time in the world. But the truth is, we never know how much time we have. The moral of this story is painfully simple: never postpone what truly matters. Don't wait to say I'm sorry. Don't wait to say I love you. Don't wait to forgive, or to ask for forgiveness. Because one day, the chance will be gone. And no amount of regret can bring it back.